the time I became anorexic, which was years later, maybe 3 or 4 years later, I had just had it with being fat and chubby, basically, is what everybody called me. Chubby, round. I remember my friend Mark said, "You're fine, but your body is just made of round circles all over." And so I decided that I would prove to him and the entire world that I could be thin. And so I limited myself to 80, I can't remember how many calories a day that was. It wasn't very much, maybe 150 calories a day. And I jogged 4 miles a day. I fasted for a week at every change of the season, and then I fasted for 3 weeks in a year just on water. So I didn't know what I was doing. All I cared about was being thin because I believed that if I was thin, then my life would be better. It made sense to me that because it seemed that the suffering in my life was about the size of my body. By that time I was 28, and I had spent pretty much every day for 17 years thinking about my body and its size and my arms and my belly, and if I could only be thin, then I would be happy. And everything could be right. Everything that was wrong was going to get fixed. And so, of course, if you believe that, then why not try the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? I stayed at between 82 and 88 pounds for about a year and a half. And at that point, I couldn't stand it anymore. And so I started binging. And I binged straight for 2 months. And I gained 80 pounds during that time. So I went a little less than 80. I went from between 82 and 88 to 160 pounds, which for me was a lot of weight. At that point, I was literally suicidal. I wanted to, and I write about this in Feeding the Hungry Heart, I wanted to rip myself apart. I just felt like I wanted to tear myself just from limb to limb, just destroy myself. I hated this creature that I was, hated her. I couldn't stand looking at myself. I couldn't stand waking up in my own skin. I could not stand being myself. And so I decided to kill myself. And when I went to the bookstore to research how to do it, in those days there was no internet, I read a book sitting on the floor of that bookstore called Fat is a Feminist Issue. And for the first time in my life, it occurred to me that perhaps I wasn't insane. Perhaps I was actually using food and my weight, something I will talk more with you about, for positive reasons, for something obviously I didn't understand, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it, but as a way to get through to myself, because I so believed that what I was doing was wrong and crazy and disgusting. I mean, I used that word often in describing myself, disgusting. Because I believed that, there was no room to ask myself, but is there anything that you're using food to do that you don't feel capable of doing directly or saying directly? For the first time, that came in to my mind. And I decided I'd give myself a couple of weeks. If at the end of a couple of weeks I wasn't any better, and then I could go ahead and kill myself. That was always an option. And so during those couple of weeks, and I actually can't remember now whether it was a couple of weeks or a week. I just don't remember how long it was. But I know that I made a decision that I was going to stop dieting. And I was never going to go on another diet again. And I was going to be curious about how I was using food. And that was that. I never have been on another diet again. And that opened up a whole world to me, a whole level of inquiry, a whole level of investigation. It was a process, but that changed everything. And so when I realized that, soon I realized, oh, wow, this is the way out. I mean, I might know not know the whole thing, but I know a little of it, which is to stop dieting. But mostly it was to stop depriving and shaming myself. And so I was not allowed to do that. I disengaged from that voice. I decided I would start a group. And I put an ad in the Good Times Compulsive Eating Support Group for women. Anyone welcome, $1 a night. That's how much I charged. 10 people wanted to come, great. I was living, as I said, in the basement of a friend's house down the road, dark road. The only way to meet them was in front of a liquor store because that was the shopping center that was closest to them and well lit. And so we made a meeting place. I was still 80 pounds over my natural weight, so I hadn't lost any weight yet. This is only a couple of weeks into it. I wanted to experiment talking to other women and decided to get a permanent because I only had one summer dress. That was all I had to wear, one dress that my friend Cindy gave me. Summer dress, it's winter time, and I have a summer dress, sleeveless dress, but I wouldn't buy any more clothes. Elastic waistband. I'll never forget this dress as long as I live. I wish I still had it, but I don't. Black with pink flowers all over it. Very nice, really a nice polyester dress. But who cared? I mean, it fit me. It had an elastic waistband and big open sleeves. So anyway, I got a permanent, but because I have very fine hair, she had to leave in the curlers overnight. And when I went back the next day to get them taken out, which was the day of the group, she had to have an emergency operation and told me that I shouldn't take the rollers out because my hair would fall out if I did. And so this is the part I really want you to listen to, because this is the part that shows you that I'm not alone here. You can do anything. There's no more waiting to be ready to live your life. You can start now. Me, very overweight, summer dress, middle of winter, curlers in my hair, in front of a liquor store, waving to the 10 women who showed up. Hi, I'm your leader. I'm going to show you how to break free from compulsive eating. Come with me. Many of them ran screaming, screeching out of the parking lot. Those who didn't came back to my friend's house with me, and they were the first contributors to Feeding the Hungry Heart, my first book, because together we explored this. The moral of that story is not to wait. The moral of the story is that you too, no matter what, can have the life, a life. You can live now, starting now, as if you actually mattered. So that was it. That was my story. Of course, I eventually lost weight and went on to write Feeding the Hungry Heart and the other books that I've written. But it was that moment that changed everything. And it was that moment in the bookstore that sort of got me here tonight. It's why I'm here tonight. It's because I feel so dedicated to letting every single person that wants to know know that hopelessness and shame and self-loathing and feeling out of control around food and really your life, because food is just, your relationship with food really is a reflection of your relationship with everything else. I say in Women, Food, and God, how you eat is how you live. What that means is if you, at your core beliefs about yourself, if you believe that you're not deserving, if you believe you're damaged or doomed or hopeless, that will be reflected in every single thing you do and say, in every, maybe not every single thing, but many things. Because it's you doing it. It's not anybody else. It's you.